down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Savvy investors out there, today's going to be a good day because I'm revealing a secret weapon. That's right, a secret weapon. About a couple of years ago, I own an apartment building, and on the third floor, a college student decided to go on vacation for the holiday break. No big deal. She disappeared, and I didn't really know her until one day I got a call on the first floor that their property was filled with water. And I was like, how is that even possible? Come to find out, the girl on the third floor turned her heat off, left it off, and the pipe busted and ruined 3 units. So from the top all the way down. Now, prior to before this, I really haven't had an insurance claim. And I tried not to because I was one of those fearful investors. Oh, I don't want to turn in a claim. If I turn in a claim, then they're going to raise my insurance policy and life's going to end and they're never going to write insurance for me again. And that went through my mind several times. But this claim was so large that I had guests, tenants underneath that I had to reposition them, replace them, move them to a safe place because they couldn't stay. I was really lost in what to do. I didn't know how to make a claim. I didn't know where to go. I called a good friend and he said, hey, call an insurance adjuster. Well, that's right. That's what we have right today. We have Reliant Public Insurance Adjuster. Not only James Prather, right? Did I say it right, Prather?
That's correct.
Has had legislation use his contract, but he's going to give us the down and dirty on how to deal with an insurance claim. What is an insurance claim? What is a public adjuster? They're not some evil people in the back room trying to make a percentage on your claim. They are out there to serve you. So welcome to the show, James. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
I never heard of a public adjuster before.
Well, that's funny you say that because 95% of the people that I meet don't even know that I exist. Probably the best way to explain what I do is I advocate or I help people fight their claims when they have a problem. I also can help them settle a claim a lot faster with more accuracy, which ends up producing a better bottom line or a better settlement in the insurance claim.
All right, let's just get this out on the table. How do you get paid? What's your incentive?
I work off a percentage of the claim. If it's a brand new claim, typically I charge 10% to go in and represent you.
What is that 10%? Like, so if I have a $100,000 claim,
then I get paid $10,000 of that claim. But it may not be that. I actually work off of payments that you receive. And that's actually part of the state law. It says that I have to affect your claim before I can get paid. So if you have a $100,000 claim, $50,000 deductible, you only get a $50,000 settlement. I only charge you off the $50,000 that you get.
Okay. But what's the advantage? Like, why should I hire you? Or am I hiring you? Or are we're friends? What does a public adjuster actually do?
Well, what the public adjuster do is basically he levels the playing field. Instead of you, that's most of the time typically uneducated in insurance lingo or an insurance claim, can now hire a professional that is equal to, has the same experience, or maybe in my case a little bit more experience than the opposing adjuster.
So you're an advocate.
That's correct. My loyalty is with the person that hires me. I have a pretty considerable amount of knowledge in both construction and insurance, and I've worked insurance claims all over the United States for the last 11 years.
Okay. So that 10%, now, in my mind, when I actually did hire an insurance adjuster, and I didn't know you back then, I would have definitely hired you, but I felt like I would have gotten more money with him than I did.
Well, and that's what you have to really evaluate. I'm not going to settle until I know the insurance claim is correct. The insurance company also knows that when they have a public adjuster that they can't take shortcuts. They can't try to do a workaround or use an alternate settlement.
Or a quick settlement.
Correct. They know that they're going to have to write an estimate. I'm going to review that estimate. Sometimes I actually prepare an estimate and hand it to the insurance company.
Yeah.
They know that when I'm involved, that number one, I understand the policy just as well as they do. I understand, a set of rules that's set forth by your insurance commissioner. And I also usually have a little bit better construction knowledge. So the adjuster, I tend to have the upper hand when it goes to writing an estimate because...
No, this changes the dynamic of that relationship. For example, I call the insurance, make my claim, the dude shows up on the property. I've noticed that all of a sudden there's an adjuster there. Things change. And how do you handle that situation?
Well, I always match their tone. If they want to be in a good mood, if they want to, settle things amicably, that's great. I'm there when I start off to help them. And there are a bunch of great adjusters out there. They realize when they do have a public adjuster that the claim's going to go faster. They know that they're going to reach a settlement a lot sooner. And they know that the public adjuster is actually going to help them complete this claim, and we work together as a team, which everybody benefits. The homeowner will ultimately benefit the most, or the policyholder will benefit the most in that situation, because what can be strung out over 6, 8, or 12 months can be condensed down in just a few weeks.
So, okay, who are the people that should hire? I know that you work with a lot of real estate investors in Oklahoma City. Should a homeowner hire you? I mean, and we're hiring you, and then what if I don't get a claim? What if then you don't get paid?
Well, the law says that I work on a contingency. If I go out, and it's something else to help reassure you about hiring me, I'm not going to come out and look at your claim and know that there's absolutely nothing there, sign it up, work it 6 months, and know I have absolutely no chance of getting paid. So it's also a way to see if you have a legitimate claim. I'm going to tell you the truth because I'm not going to waste or invest my time for something I know that's not there. Sometimes insurance companies look and say, hey, you filed all these claims, they're below deductible, we're getting rid of you. You can also call me and I can walk you through step by step. But somebody who should hire me, anybody that has an insurance claim can get a free initial consultation.
Okay. Man, I got a million questions going on.
Right.
All right, let's just jump into this one. First of all, I want to love to get to know how you got into this game, because this is not, I wouldn't say game in a negative way, but this is an industry that's not common knowledge, right? I mean, a lot of people don't know, but let's just really test your skills as an insurance adjuster.
Okay.
I have a friend that has a property. He's a homeowner, and he made an insurance claim. The guy comes out there, does the claim, gets it fixed. But the claim wasn't, like, something was still wrong with it. So he called the guy back. There was another adjuster. They made a second claim on the first claim. So now he calls the guy again. They don't fix, something goes wrong. So 3 times he's got to work with this adjuster from their company. Well, come to find out that he's paying now, he can't get insured. Or he can get insured, but it's like ridiculous, like 3 times the amount of money for his insurance. Is there anything that guy can do? Can he commission you to go in there and set that stuff straight, or is he burned, or and what's going on there? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of a weird situation.
Well, it sounds like that if it's one claim, and if the other 2 inspections were still related to the first claim, all the damage wasn't discovered or something like that, then, there may be something that I can do to help them. We may be able to get the last 2 claims condensed down into the first one. That's a common fear that a lot of people are afraid to file a claim because they think that they're going to be dropped. I would tell you that's a myth. Unless it's something that you actually have participation in, it's difficult for the insurance companies just to drop you because you file a claim. Most definitely if that is a weather-related claim, which is very popular in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I noticed that I used to have that same fear until one day I had 17 properties that had roof claims. And after I got all new roofs on there, which thankful insurance company, they didn't drop me. My insurance didn't change. But I noticed just recently, this year actually, my escrow went up in my own personal residence. And I was like, what the, it doubled. And so I'm calling around, and I'm like the third person that called an insurance agent the same day. They're like, "Man, I guess everyone's got their claim raised," and that's just in general because of the claims that were as a group, as a whole, as a state, as a city, as a neighborhood.
Correct.
So it's not necessarily you personally where insurance companies are attacking you, but back to my buddy, what should he do? I mean, obviously, I'm going to give him your number today, and because it just reminded me, because it's a sad story that he's paying like something that should be $1,500 a year. He's paying like $35. I mean, it's like $500. It's like something like outrageous amount of money to insure this property.
Well, it sounds like that it was a very complicated claim, and it sounds like that maybe both parties involved didn't really understand it. That is the perfect situation for me to be interjected in. Number one, I can make sure that the claim is done correctly from the start.
Okay.
The second thing is I can make sure that it is investigated properly. Just because the insurance adjuster shows up it's working for the insurance company and says, "Hey, there's no damage here," I don't always agree with that. My knowledge and my expertise may tell me that, hey, we actually probably need to remove this panel. We need to look at it. We need to see what's going on before we make a real decision. We may need to hire an expert. We may need a leak detector. We may need an engineer. We may need a geologist.
Cool. And that's what you do. That's your specialty, is like posing these questions that a normal resident wouldn't, I wouldn't ask that question. Let's remove the paneling, see if there's mold behind there. Because I just want to get paid and move on and get the job done.
Right. And the claim that you're talking about sounds like if he would have hired somebody that has good knowledge of the working of an insurance claim, and we never know.
No one does.
Sometimes we get brand new adjusters, and it's part of the business. They've got to learn sometime, but
sure,
as long as you've got somebody there advocating for you.
Well, I'm juiced up.
Yeah, I'm
excited.
You have somebody that can help you settle it. And here's something else that a lot of people, they don't understand. It takes you time. You have to go meet the adjuster. You have to go to the property. You have to spend all this time. And it's not a very good chance that you're going to get it settled correctly the first time. If you hire a professional to handle your claims, I'm going to take care of all the inspections, whether we do 1 or 3, and it's still the same price.
Because you're incentivized because you got to get paid.
That's right.
So hopefully that you're going to increase the claim. Do you know statistically, so it warrants your services?
It's hard to track that.
I mean, I know for me personally that it worked. Like when I learned, I had 2 claims at the same time. It was just crazy. It was Christmas time, and I had 2 properties that busted pipes, which is just it was weird. When I went through that whole drama with the apartment building, I realized a lot of things, and I watched the guy a lot, and he basically represented me, and I met with him. I actually went there, and I wanted to know the whole process because I was also it was a $160,000 claim. It was a big deal. And I was just, man, I didn't know what to do with these tenants. That was my first problem. But I noticed near the final of they already did estimates, and they're telling me that I have to redo the floor and all this other jazz. This public adjuster that I hired, he was like, "What about the hallway?" And he got my cabinets painted, and he got my hallway painted in the apartment building, which I can't quantify that now. I can't remember. It's been so long ago, but it was at least several $1,000s, and I thought that was worth it. Just for that, I would have never thought of that. I knew, because I'm a contractor, I knew that I was going to come out okay because I know how to do construction. And so the amount of money that they gave me, I knew that I could get it done, but I didn't know that I could get even more through the process. And I didn't want to get burned. That's why I had the public adjuster with me.
Well, and the other advantage is I have experience in the policy, especially when it comes to business policies. We're going to read through that policy and make sure every section of coverage is opened up and discussed. We're going to make sure if you have loss of rent that we start documenting and we start asking for loss of rent. We also start asking if we have other coverages in there. We can. That's kind of what I do. Is I actually advocate on your behalf. Here's a good example.
Yeah, give me some examples.
Would you call the IRS to help you do your taxes?
No.
Well, I mean, that's basically kind of what you're doing with you're letting the insurance company tell you what's covered, what's not covered, and adjust the settlement. Wouldn't you feel better about a second opinion of somebody saying yes or no? And I do that all the time. People will send me claims, and I'll send them right back. And, I did a claim here the other day in Tulsa. I gave it back to the lady, and I said, they paid you $60,000 on a $50,000 house. They did a pretty good job. That may be an extreme measure, but I'm gonna give you an honest opinion, because if there's nothing there for me to work with, if it doesn't meet the criteria, if it's not a covered loss, then there's no reason. I'm going to tell you, hey, they did a great job. You'll then know that you should be able to find somebody to get your house repaired or your claim taken care of.
Interesting. And I mean, and I know their goal as an adjuster is to pay out as least as possible. That's the insurance. I know that's a negative towards insurance people, because my wife works in the medical field, and so many people were denied. She worked in the cancer field, and so many people were denied claims for cancer coverage because they didn't cross the right T at the right time, and they got denied, and it's just a bunch of drama. And I mean, I'm just assuming that I'm a business owner and I want to pay out as least as possible. Why would I want to just randomly start writing checks to people? Well, so their incentive is to save money. Don't tell me you're advocating for insurance.
Well,
I would really like to blast insurance.
As I was brought up in the business, I was taught to always try to find coverage. That's what I did for 10 years. Towards the end of my career, I started getting blasted for finding coverage.
Okay, so what do you mean coverage? What, you were an insurance agent before?
I was an independent adjuster.
Okay, let's stop here. How'd you get into this deal? You were an independent insurance. You were on the other side of the fence.
I was on the other side, and this is what's funny is I work a public adjuster just like I worked an independent adjuster. I go in, I read the policy, I see what's covered, I write an estimate that I think is correct to repair the damages. I don't do anything different as an independent as now I do as a public adjuster. The only difference is the homeowner now has to pay me, and the insurance company can't tell me no on everything.
Sure.
But that's...
Or you were praised for saving as least as money as possible. Well, I mean, I have a really good friend that's an adjuster.
Yeah.
But he's a very amazing person, and he's integrity. I mean, I don't think anybody's lack of integrity, but I mean, he would see a lot of shicey stuff. He would tell me these crazy stories. People would take ice cubes and smash it on the roof and try to get hell claims, and he would save the insurance. They loved him. He'd save the insurance, and he would catch fraud all the time. He was just a wonderful person. But, they liked him because they were saving them money versus some other regular adjuster out there that's
just paying claims.
Right.
Well, the model of the insurance operation has changed a little bit. It used to be that agents had the authority to pay claims up to $1,000. They had a checkbook, no questions asked, pay your claim and be done with it. They're now slowly pulling that away. They're distancing the claims section or the claims handling from the agents. I mean, they're totally separating them because they know that if they can separate it out and they can isolate the agent, he doesn't have as much of a voice and can't influence the selling of a claim
or liability.
Well, in which in turn, lets them pay less. And I've had insurance executives say, "Well, let's pay it at half and see what they do with it."
And most people just I know people that just take the claim.
And that's
probably 80-90% of the time people just take the claim.
And that's the realization is that some people just accept what the insurance company gives them and, pays out of pocket to get their roof repaired or their damages repaired and just think that's the normal process, and that's not.
Right. Okay.
And, a lot of times people think that the insurance, they're okay for the insurance company taking a discount on their indemnity or paying their claim. I always point it back and say, well, wait a minute. Do they ever send you a little note at the end of the year saying, hey, you didn't have a claim this year? We're going to just go ahead and forgive your premiums for the next year.
I don't want, I can blast insurance. I don't want to get into it, but let's just get down and dirty. What's covered? What's not? What's a misconception? Let's help real estate investors out there. Obviously the best insurance is adequate insurance. Like replacement costs, what policies do you look like that you've seen out there that are terrible? Or
well, Since we are dealing with rental property or property investors, most of your policies out there are going to be what's called actual cash value. That's just the way that business insurance.
And what
is
does that
written.
mean?
Well, basically, what actual cash value means is they figure out what the repair is, or what we call the replacement costs, and then they deduct for depreciation. Depreciation is based upon age and condition. So let's say that, just a simple example, let's say that we have a 30-year roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's 15 years old. Adjuster comes out, sees it's damaged, writes the whole thing up, says that it's $10,000 to replace this 30-year roof.
But we're only going to give you $5,000.
And then, well, they're going to depreciate it by 50% because it's 15 years old. So there's $5,000. And then,
Let's take your deductible too.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Stephen, let's say you have a 2% deductible, which is $2,500. You're going to get a $2,500 payment on that policy, and that's,
So I'm screwed.
That's basically the way that the policy works. That's called an actual cash value policy. There are a few companies in the market that will write a replacement cost policy on rental property. And I would do a cost analysis on it. I would see what it's going to actually
pay out and cost.
We live in Oklahoma. We have a hailstorm here on the average of about every 4 or 5 years. So that's something that you have to factor in.
Almost every year.
Well, somewhere we have hail.
Somehow. I thought we were going to have hail last night.
And we did. We had some hail south of here. I mean, it was at least 2 inches. So we've already met our yearly deal of we've had hail in Oklahoma.
It's like March 1st.
Correct. So that's called an actual cash value policy. A replacement cost policy basically is still paid just exactly like the actual cash value policy, with the exception when you get the repairs completed and you submit your invoices or your contract or whatever, then you are able to recover the rest of the money or the depreciation on that claim, which, our example was $5,000. So they took their $2,500 deductible, so you're going to be able to recover $7,500 out of that $10,000 claim. So, as a public adjuster, though, I'm going to make sure that everything is addressed in that claim. Mm-hmm. I'm also going to make sure that if it warrants overhead and profit, that I'm going to fight for that and make sure that is included in your claim.
Now, let's cover that, because I learned that from a wonderful contractor. That's if they're doing 3 different trades.
Well, that is
So, okay, savvy investors out there, savvy investors. If you have an insurance claim on a property, like say your residence, and your roof is damaged and your gutters are damaged and you need paint done, that's 3 trades. You can ask for what is it called?
Overhead and profit.
Overhead and profit, which is an extra 10-20%?
It's 20%. It's 10% overhead and 10% profit. The 3 trade rule is not written in stone anywhere. The insurance companies like to say, well, we have to have at least 3 trades. And I've heard, well, we have to have 3 complex trades. And then I've heard we have to have 3 trades plus the roof. I turn right around and I argue with the insurance companies and I say, show me in your policy where it says that.
So you ask for that each time?
I never send an estimate in.
Without profit in?
Without overhead and profit on it.
Okay.
Because the first time that you don't ask for it,
you don't get it.
You're not going to get it.
Okay.
You're never going to get it if you don't ask for it.
All right, let's get into some down and dirty. Let's get some tricks. What could obviously hire you? All right, that's one trick. But what's another trick? How can we set up an insurance company? Can I be prepared before I call them? Should I call a roofer before I call? Should I? What tricks can you give me?
If you have a roofer that you know and you trust and you have a great relationship, if it's a roof claim, I would tell you, yes, have a roofer look at that. The problem is you may have a relationship with the company, but they may give your claim to somebody that's new. Too many times I've been behind and they tell you to file the claim because there's nothing to lose. So that's sometimes, if you really know the person, I would say yes.
You're talking about the roofer or the contractor.
Right. Call a roofer or a contractor if you have a good relationship and if you know that they're going to give you, an honest answer. But my first inspection is free. I'll come out and look at it also. If you think you have a roof claim and you really want to know, I'm going to tell you, yes, there's a claim.
Sure.
No, there's not a claim. And then I'm going to ask you, would you like for me to represent you in that claim? Which you can tell me no, and you still got a free inspection, and you still, you know.
All right. Well, what's your take on? There was a big storm, I think, a couple of years ago, and I made a claim, and a young kid from another state with a special company car did my claim. What do you think about people that are out of state that are doing the claims adjusting? Is that good, bad, ugly?
It all depends on who you get.
I mean, he was a young kid. He seemed educated, but everybody seems educated at first.
Well, when I was new, I was always very hesitant about paying claims. You know, until you really get into the business, you don't understand things, and so you tend to try to deny or tend to not pay the claims. And unfortunately, when we do have a large event, they have to bring everybody in that they can so that they can get those claims handled in a timely fashion. A lot of people are going to suffer. Some people are going to benefit.
Is there a law that they have to come out and adjust it as soon as possible?
They have guidelines that they're supposed to try to meet.
Is there like a timetable?
They usually like to have the claims done and wrapped up within 30 days.
From the call?
From the call. They really would like to have an inspection within 2 weeks.
And then they want to cut a check ASAP before I get my hands on you.
They would love to try to settle the claim and tell you that it's closed.
All right. How about on my side? Like, what's the latest I can call in a claim?
Most of the policies say that you have up to a year to file the claim and still receive replacement cost benefits. I've filed claims that are 4 years old and they've paid them. There's no magical number, you know. It's just depending on what the insurance company is willing to do. But you know, you most definitely, without question, have up to 2 years to file that claim, or you have 2 years for somebody to reopen that claim. A lot of my work is after somebody hasn't got a fair settlement.
And how do you know that? How do you just feel like in your heart that I got burned on the deal and I should just reopen it? And what does that entail?
Well,
is that a weird, like the insurance? And then what if the insurance, you don't have that same company?
Doesn't matter. And this is another big misconception. If the loss happens on 4/15 of 2016, whoever the insurance company is on that date is responsible for that claim for ever, you know, most definitely within 2 years. So let's say that you had a claim or you had a loss a year ago and you haven't reported it, but now you have a different insurance company. The person that wrote the insurance during that policy period is responsible for the claim. So that's who we send the notification to, and that's who we go against.
And then, you know, like credit reports, like when you try to get something removed off your credit, they have a certain timetable to 30 days to reply. Are insurance people, you know, if I owned an insurance company, all of a sudden 4 years later, some public adjuster sending me some letter to open up a claim that I paid 4 years ago, do they slow roll you, or do they play, you know, what policy number? What are you talking about?
Sometimes they do that, but you know, as a professional, I'm going to make sure that I have everything correct before I send it to them. I'm going to make sure that all my T's are crossed, all my I's are dotted. I'm going to make sure that I have everything I need before I proceed with that claim. So that way that they can't do that to me. And yes, they sometimes slow play me also.
And you just, you know, you just drive it home because you're incentivized.
That's right. I mean, I'm not.
So another person on my team doesn't cost me any money on front, and you're working on my behalf to get stuff done.
And, you know, just like I said, I ask for overhead and profit on every claim. Well, doesn't that actually
pay you?
It double covers my fee if I'm starting for you at the beginning of a claim.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I know that a lot of people, they don't know that. I can tell you that right. And I didn't know that. I thought that it had to be 3 trades. And that was just some cool roofing contractor that told me to do that. And so when I went and met with the insurance adjuster and we're walking around my house and, there's some things damaged, you know, some lawn chairs were damaged. I was like, yeah, we got 3 things. Well, but in reality is that you could ask for that in the front end.
Well, actually, and we have Oklahoma court cases that basically say if you hire a contractor and the contractor has subcontractors that do the work for him, then the insurance company owes overhead and profit right up front. It doesn't matter how many trades are involved.
Cool. All right. We got about 5 minutes left. Tell me something else that, we like to educate investors on.
Well, I work a lot of fire claims, tornado claims, the contents, which most real estate...
I don't have contents.
But most people don't realize that the refrigerator and the stove sometimes is not listed under the building portion, but actually is still covered
That's a good tip.
as business personal property. And actually, we can cover the stove and the refrigerator. Sometimes we can cover it on the contents. Sometimes we can cover it on the structure. Sometimes we can cover wherever we have coverage left.
Cool.
I worked a tornado in Moore. They were out of coverage on their structure. We were able to move the dish or the stove and the washing machine and the washing machine and dryer over to another coverage, and they were able to get covered for it.
Interesting.
Another big tip is, if your policy says $100,000, that usually doesn't mean that's it. There's some hidden coverages that I know about. There's other stuff that I can actually sometimes get 15 or 20% additional above and beyond what the policy limits are.
Give me an example.
Debris removal. Debris removal is actually an additional coverage, which means it's in addition to your policy limit. And sometimes that's 15%. So on a $100,000 claim, there's another $15,000.
That just paid for you.
And you know what? Most of the time, the insurance companies are not going to volunteer that information.
Oh, never.
We can talk about a claim that we handled in the Moore tornadoes. A contractor sent it to me, and he said, I got him $100,000. This is all I can do with it. We signed it up. I started reading the policy.
And so this time the contractor called you.
The contractor called me
because he's trying to get as much money as he can because over the cost of the build out or something.
He was trying to put their house back. Their house was completely gone.
And $100,000 wouldn't cover.
$100,000 was all he could get out of it. Well, I opened up the policy and I read through it, and about 7 minutes into it, I see a little clause that says, well, in the event of a total loss, we will pay up to 150% of coverage A. Well, actually, their coverage A was $150,000, and the contractor was frustrated because everybody was coming back at $205,000. I immediately called the adjuster, and I said, can you tell me why you haven't invoked this clause? And he goes, well, nobody's asked about it. If you don't know it's there, they're not going to make adjustments for it. They're supposed to.
Sure.
So that claim ended up going from $100,000 to $370,000.
Wow.
That's an extreme case, but I was able, because I had knowledge of the policy, I knew to read through it. And 7 minutes into it, I had already paid for myself. I had already found them enough money that they were able to get back in.
So one tip is to read your policy, but no one in the effing world's going to read their damn policy.
It's difficult to read the policies.
Is there a negative on the opposite, like they don't have enough coverage?
Sometimes, as a business, here's the analogy that I use. If you buy homeowners insurance, it's like going to a popular restaurant and ordering their package deal. You get your appetizer, you get your entree, you get your dessert,
3-course, whatever.
Right.
Got it.
It's a package deal. Unfortunately, with business insurance, it's like going to Furs. You've got to know what you want, you've got to know what you need, and you have to pick it
a la carte,
individually, a la carte. And sometimes, and it's ultimately the business owner's responsibility to know how to get things covered. If you go to an agent that's not real experienced, sometimes they won't know how to cover you. Sure. They won't understand your business. That's why business insurance is, you need to put a little bit more studying into it. You need to be a little bit more versed about it, and you need to read it and understand it a little bit more, because it's ultimately your responsibility to know that you're covered properly. I had a claim once. I deal with a lot of business with Shelter for a long time, and they've done me right. And so, we're selling, buying property, taking them off, taking them on, a lot of work. Well, one day I had a huge claim on this physical building we're in. All my windows in the front were blown out from some storm. I show up Monday morning, and all my windows are broken. So I'm like, hey man, no big deal. This is a insurance claim. It's pretty obvious. Hailstorm 2000 something. I call them. Oh, we don't have that coverage.
this is a commercial property. You had residential insurance on it. And I was like, so they just shut me down.
If they wrote insurance on it, they
have some sort of, and I almost, and of course I'm a contractor and I know how to change out windows, and my deductible was probably around a couple thousand maybe, and I was so frustrated. And now I'm very anal about business insurance, and the coverage that I have now is totally different, and I obviously don't have shelter.
Can I give you a little secret?
Please.
Some policies have a $0 glass deductible. A $0 glass deductible.
Yeah, that's like for cars, right?
Well, and sometimes it's on houses. There's also sometimes lock expense, no charge lock expense.
Cool.
Your keys get stolen out of your car and you have to change the locks. Some of the policies afford that. Until you really read the policies, and unfortunately I have to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be hard pressed for me to sit down and read 30 pages of a policy that changes like the wind.
But you know what? That's the reason that you can hire me, is because I am.
Well, we're already sold, homie.
In touch with
them. No, not to be rude or anything. I'm like, that's why I have you on the radio show, because I believe that you do provide a wonderful service. I had a great opportunity. A great experience. I would have never have known that. And that's the goal of the radio show, is to let people know that, hey, there's other options out there, especially when you're dealing with a claim that you've never done before. I was overwhelmed. I was mortified. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle. I called my mentor, and he's like, dude, you got to find a place for those people. And he gave me the greatest tip I need to tell you out there, investors, because this is a water claim. And what follows water? Mold. He's like, whatever you need to do, you need to get those tenants out of there as soon as possible. You do not want a lawsuit that they're going to die because of black mold. And, sure enough, I negotiated with all those tenants. I was like, here, I'll give you your deposit back. I'll give you your rent back. You need to find a place as soon as possible. And, I don't know how long it's going to take to remediate this place. And I don't know how long it's going to take for the insurance to get their finances in order. But that was a wonderful tip that I learned, especially, these people are living in their home and now they don't have a home. And so, all right, well, we're near the end of the time. So, James, how do people get a hold of you? Do you have a website, a phone number? Can I call you late at night saying, hey, my house is burning down. Can you come over here?
If your house is on fire, please call me. I'll bring a can of water and do what I can. But
in a contract?
Yeah, the best, and I'm not... I'm going to come over and I'm going to give you some advice. I'm going to get you a board-up company. I'm going to get you somebody to started or whatever. And I'm usually not going to pressure you. It's actually against the law for me to solicit somebody for 48 hours on a fire. However, if you call me, I can come over and I'm going to put in a remediation company. I'm going to put you in touch with all the people that I use and that I trust, and they know that, hey, James is on this. We can't mess around, because he's not going to cut us any break, just like he doesn't cut the insurance companies any break.
I learned that with that one claim, the second claim right after that apartment claim, I had another claim, like right down the street. Same thing, busted pipe. And that insurance claim adjuster was really a cool guy. And he's like, you need to get this remediated right now. You need to call. And he's like, I can't recommend anyone. And I was like, for real? Because I've never had this problem. Who? And then I'm calling in the phone book. He kind of hinted to three companies that he just dealt claims with. But that's one other thing out there, guys. Things are going to happen. You need to get help, get advice, especially call another landlord that may have been in that situation before. But even just calling you, you see a lot of. All right, so what's your phone number?
The best way to get a hold of me is, of course, area code 405-410-7077. If you want to send me an email, I'm oklahomapublicadjuster@gmail.com. I will do my best to answer your questions. If you want to send me a claim and have me look at it, I'll browse through it. I'll tell you, hey, you're missing this, you're missing that, or they paid you $60,000 on a $50,000 house.
You got over.
So
and it doesn't really. It only takes you a few minutes. You've seen so many policies in How many claims do you think you've done?
That's hard to say. My first hailstorm, I worked almost 3,000 claims in northern Wisconsin. So, if you do that, $20,000 or $30,000 20 or 30,000 claims in my career.
Wow.
So,
well, James, you're very impressive. I appreciate you stopping by and coming on the radio show. And hopefully we can bring you some business somehow. If not, you can connect with other real estate investors and folks out there. I'd give the guy a call or go to his website. It's okpublicadjuster.com. That's okpublicadjustr. Call him up, hit him up, tell him the Savvy Landlord said, call me, I have a question. Do I have the right coverage? Or you just had a claim. And as soon as I hang up here, I'm going to call my boy, and he's got drama on his residence. I'm going to see if you could look at his claim.
Hey, drama's a good introduction for me.
That'd be really cool, because if you can do something miracle on him, because he's been feels like his hands are tied. I mean, he's so desperate that he's paying 3 times the insurance that he's trying to sell his property, his home. This is where he lives, and he just the insurance is half of his payment.
Right.
And so, I mean, I feel sorry for the guy. So I'll definitely I don't want to put his name on there, but hopefully it will be a great story.
Yeah.
And I'll bring him back on the radio. And he's a real estate investor, and he just feels trapped in his own residence, that he's got too much insurance, and he feels like he can't get insurance. He's gotten quotes from other people, but it shows on his insurance claims, these 3 bad claims on the same property within a short amount of time. And he's like, this is bogus because the guy screwed up the first time, and he had to call him back.
A simple call can explain all.
All right. Well, James, I will call him soon. But while you're sitting here in the studio, I feel like maybe I should be like Periscope and do it live and see what they say. But
well, maybe a couple of weeks or whatever, we can do a call in or answer questions.
Well,
or, maybe
and you're here in Oklahoma City, so I'll have you come back and we'll follow up with that. If you guys have any questions, there's a way you can leave a voicemail on my website, SavvyRadioShow.com. If you got a question for James, Reliant Public Adjuster, Insurance Adjuster, just leave it on there. I'll forward it to him. Or you got his cell phone number. Again, his cell phone is 405-410-7077. Hey, I appreciate you listening to the radio show. My name is Stephen Van Kallenberg. Whatever you do, buy assets.
Investor Weekend is not far off, with over 10 information sessions to increase your portfolio. Log on to www.investorweekend.com. Whether you are a seasoned investor or never purchased a property before, you don't want to miss the Investor Weekend. Join us for a powerful, knowledge-packed weekend with over 10 informational sessions that are bound to enlarge your real estate investments. You will hear from the best national and local real estate investors that will share practical and relevant experiences with you, the investor. There will be several networking sessions to connect with other like-minded people for potential funding, partnerships, and yes, hot deals. Go to www.investorweekend.com. Did you know we meet once a month for the Landlord Lunch meeting? The 3rd Wednesday of every month. Go to landlordlunch.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook, and always be buying assets.